Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're getting into a question that's pretty much behind every single decision we make. What does it actually mean to do the right thing? Yep, we are diving deep into the world of ethics.
It seems like a simple question, doesn't it? But the answer is almost never just black and white. We all face dilemmas like this, from tiny little white lies all the way up to huge life-altering choices. So, what's the invisible framework that kind of guides us toward an answer?
Well, at its core, that framework is ethics. And look, this isn't just some dusty old theory from a textbook. It's the real world practice of our moral principles. It's all about what we actually do. So let's break down how this whole thing works.
All right, here's the plan. First, we'll get a really clear handle on what ethics is. Then, we'll explore why it's so important, kind of like the glue that holds society together. We'll dig into where our own moral compass comes from, and I'll even share a simple framework for judging any action. And to wrap it all up, we'll connect everything to the massive ethical questions we're all facing in the world right now.
So, why should we really care about this? I mean, why is ethics more than just a topic for a philosophy class? I want you to think of ethics as the invisible architecture holding our entire society together. It really is. It's the shared moral compass that guides not just our personal decisions, but also the actions of governments and huge corporations. It's the foundation of trust that lets us cooperate on everything, from a small neighborhood dispute to a massive global policy on climate change. Without it, we'd have no shared yardstick to measure our actions and hold each other accountable. So if ethics plays such a huge role, the next question is kind of obvious. Where do these powerful principles actually come from? Well, it turns out our ethical code is shaped by two major and, sometimes conflicting forces. First, you've got your personal ethics. This is the stuff we learn from our family, our culture, and just our own life experiences. But then there are professional ethics. These are the more formal rules we agree to follow at work, like a doctor's Hippocratic oath or a lawyer's duty to their client. So one is deeply personal, and the other is about our role in a much larger system.
Okay, so we've got personal and professional ethics. But when we see an action out in the world, how can we actually apply those ideas to judge it? Is there an objective way to figure out if something is truly ethical?
Actually, there's a surprisingly useful three-point checklist for this. For any action to be judged on ethical grounds, you've got to ask these things. First, was it an act of free will, or was the person forced to do it? Second, did they actually know what they were doing and what the consequences might be? And third, was the action intentional? You can immediately see how someone forced to act at gunpoint has a completely different level of ethical responsibility, right?
And this quote just captures that idea perfectly. The physical act is the same, striking someone, but the context and the intent, the why behind it, well, that changes the ethical equation completely. This is such a key insight. In ethics, the why and the how are often so much more important than the what. And this brings us right to the consequences. Because here's the thing, no ethical choice ever happens in a vacuum. Every single one, whether it's good or bad, creates a ripple effect that spreads outward. When we act ethically, those ripples are just overwhelmingly positive. They build a trust and credibility that are the absolute bedrock of any healthy relationship or society. They reduce conflict, they promote harmony, and they pave the way for real, actual progress. Honestly, when our leaders and our institutions act with integrity, everything just gets stronger. But on the flip side, the cost of unethical actions is devastating. It shatters public trust, and that is incredibly difficult to rebuild. It fuels conflict, widens inequality, and can lead to catastrophic damage through exploitation. In a workplace, it totally kills morale and makes cooperation almost impossible. The damage is real, and it is widespread. So this all brings us to today. Why does this ancient concept matter now, maybe more than ever before? Because right now, we're navigating some of the most complex ethical minefields in human history. I mean, think about it. How do we teach an AI and a self-driving car to make a life or death choice? How do we balance profit with fairness in the gig economy? The hashtag #MeToo movement forced a fundamental reckoning with how we behave at work. And on a global scale, we're facing enormous questions about shared responsibility for climate change and battling these huge waves of misinformation designed to tear us apart. And here's the crucial takeaway from all this. We are living in a time where technology and society are evolving way faster than our ethical rulebooks can keep up. And this leaves us with one vital final thought. These challenges, from AI to climate change,
They aren't just for philosophers or politicians to solve. They belong to every single one of us. So the real question is, how will you choose to answer them?